All right, so welcome to another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be tackling success advice, but not just from anyone.
Right.
We're going straight to the source. A speech
Yeah.
from Donald Trump, the guy who
Right.
literally wrote the book, The
Yeah.
Art of the Deal, and hosted The Apprentice and
Of course.
became president.
Yeah. I mean, Trump's a fascinating figure, isn't he?
Absolutely.
He's known for that bold personality,
Yeah.
and some might say a very unconventional path.
Yeah.
Um, but this speech, I think it gives us a really unique glimpse
Yeah.
into his philosophies,
Yeah.
on achieving what you set out to do.
It's like we're getting a peek behind the curtain.
Okay.
So right off the bat, I mean, there's this theme of tenacity that really jumps out at you.
Okay.
Trump, he repeatedly emphasizes, never giving up.
Right.
It's almost like a cornerstone of his
Right.
whole approach.
And that makes sense, right? Given his background.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
involved in industries like real
Yeah.
estate
Yeah.
and entertainment,
Right.
which I mean, they're known for their how competitive they are.
Yeah.
Um, and in those fields, resilience, it isn't just beneficial, it's essential for survival.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
he even talks about watching brilliant people fail
Oh, wow.
because they just lacked that.
They didn't have the stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's a bit blunt about it, but
Yeah.
it definitely makes you think, right?
Oh, for sure.
But is that always the right call, though?
That's a great question.
Like, is there ever a time to walk away?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Because his message
Yeah.
does seem to be about, pushing through those obstacles no matter what.
Yeah.
But there's a balance, isn't there? I mean,
Right.
sometimes knowing when to pivot
Yeah.
or even change course completely
Yeah.
is just as important as that raw determination.
So it's not just about blindly charging ahead.
Right.
You need to be
Yeah.
smart about it too.
Exactly. Yeah. And that actually leads us to another interesting theme in the speech, intuition.
Okay.
Trump talks a lot about trusting your gut,
Uh-huh.
even when others disagree.
Right.
He even mentions ignoring his own agent's advice on The Apprentice,
Wow.
which, as we know, became a huge success.
Yeah, I mean that decision, I think it really showcases
Yeah.
his confidence in his own instincts.
Yeah.
But it also makes you wonder, how much of that is really applicable to
Yeah.
someone who isn't, already a major figure in the
Right.
business world.
That's a crucial point because while trusting your gut can be very, very powerful,
Uh-huh.
it's not always easy to discern when intuition is valid
Right.
and when it might lead you astray.
Yeah.
And it's a skill really that often develops
Yeah.
with experience, and unfortunately sometimes through making mistakes.
So maybe it's not about blindly following every impulse,
Right.
but more about
Right.
learning to recognize those gut feelings and understanding when they're really worth acting on.
Yeah, I think that's a much more nuanced
Right.
and
Yeah.
helpful takeaway
Yeah.
for the average listener.
Yeah.
And it aligns with the point that Trump actually makes later,
Okay.
about being cautious,
Oh, wow.
which might surprise some people.
That is surprising.
Yeah, given his bold persona.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's not just all about
Not exactly.
uh,
No, he actually talks about the importance of protecting against the downside,
oh, okay.
which basically means acknowledging that things can go wrong
Right.
and having plans in place
Yeah.
to mitigate those potential risks.
Yeah, that makes sense in a business context. I mean,
Yeah.
you wouldn't invest millions of dollars
Right.
without, doing your due diligence and trying to anticipate any challenges.
Exactly, but I think
Yeah.
that principle can be applied, much more broadly.
Oh.
Whether
Right.
you're starting a new project, pursuing a relationship,
Yeah.
or even just making a big life decision,
Yeah.
considering those potential obstacles
Yeah.
and having those backup plans
Yeah.
is always a good idea.
It's like that saying, hope for the best,
Yeah,
but prepare for the worst.
exactly. And that kind of thoughtful planning
Right.
might not be what immediately comes to mind
Yeah.
when you think of Donald Trump,
Yeah.
which is why I think this part of the speech is so intriguing.
Yeah.
It reveals a more strategic side
Yeah.
to his thinking.
It's definitely a different perspective than
Yeah.
just never give up all the time. So we've got this blend of persistence and caution,
Yeah.
trusting your gut, but also planning
Right.
for the unexpected.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of a paradox, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And that duality
Yeah.
is part of what makes analyzing his advice
Yeah.
so interesting, I think.
Yeah.
He doesn't always fit
Yeah.
neatly into a box.
And maybe that's part of the reason he's been so successful.
Maybe.
He's not afraid to challenge conventions
Yeah.
and forge his own path.
Yeah.
Speaking of forging your own path,
Okay.
Trump also talks about something that I think resonates with a lot of people:
Okay.
the importance of loving what you do.
Yes. He emphasizes that work shouldn't feel like a chore.
Yeah.
It should be something that you're passionate about,
Yeah.
something that energizes you,
Yeah.
even when it gets tough.
And that enthusiasm, I mean, it definitely comes across in the speech.
It does, yeah.
He talks about this massive golf resort that he bought and renovated
Okay.
in Florida called Doral.
Oh, yeah.
You can practically hear the excitement in his voice as he's describing the project.
That's a great example of
Yeah.
how passion can be such a driving force, right?
Mhm.
When you genuinely love what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, those long hours and those inevitable setbacks.
Yeah.
They become less daunting
Yeah.
because you're fueled by something,
Yeah.
deeper
Yeah.
than just a desire for success.
And speaking of those long hours
Yeah.
and setbacks,
Mm-hmm.
this brings us to another major theme
Okay.
that runs through Trump's speech.
Okay. Yeah, it's the hard work aspect,
Right.
Trump, he repeatedly emphasizes that there's no substitute
Yeah.
for putting in the effort.
Right.
And he's in contrast this with what he calls
Okay.
super geniuses,
Oh.
who might have that natural talent,
Right.
but they lack that gut feeling
Yeah.
and that stick-to-itiveness.
So it's almost like he's saying, look, talent is great,
Mm.
but it's worthless without that drive
Yeah.
to actually,
To put in the work.
put in the work.
Yeah.
Which to be fair is a pretty common sentiment
It is.
among successful people.
Yeah, and it makes you think about
Yeah.
the nature of success itself, right?
All right.
Is it about that inherent ability,
Right.
or is it more about dedication, discipline,
Yeah.
and that willingness to just keep pushing forward even when things get tough?
That's a big question.
It is, yeah.
And honestly, it's probably a bit of both,
I
right?
think so.
You need some level of talent or aptitude,
Uh-huh.
but then you need the grit
Right.
to develop it and actually make something of it.
I agree, and I think that's where
Yeah.
Trump's emphasis on hard work
Yep.
becomes really relevant.
Right.
He's essentially saying
Yeah.
that you can't just rely on talent alone.
Right.
You have to be willing to roll up your sleeves and put in the hours
Right.
to hone your skills,
Mm-hmm.
to overcome those obstacles,
Yeah.
and to just keep learning and
Right.
growing.
That's a message that resonates with me.
Yeah.
There's something very empowering about the idea that success isn't just handed to a select few.
Yeah.
It's something that you can work towards, something that you can earn
Yeah.
through dedication and effort.
Absolutely. And that ties back to his point about perseverance.
Yeah.
It's not just about never giving up on a specific goal.
Right.
It's about having that enduring work ethic
Yeah.
that propels you forward in all aspects of your life.
It's interesting because,
Yeah.
know, when you think of Donald Trump,
Mm.
you might not immediately associate him with hard work in the traditional sense.
Right.
But I think what he's getting at is more about this this relentless drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
This ambition that pushes him to constantly strive for more.
Right. He might not be the type to spend, hours
Yeah.
poring over spreadsheets or coding late into the night.
Right.
But he's definitely someone who's always hustling, always making deals,
Right.
always thinking about the next big thing.
Yeah.
And that that in itself
Yeah.
requires a certain level of
Yeah.
dedication and energy.
And it's clear from the speech that he sees this as a key ingredient for success, regardless of your field or background.
Absolutely, and I think it's
Yeah.
it's an important reminder for anyone who's striving
Yeah.
to achieve something meaningful.
Right.
Talent and luck, they might play a role.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's the hard work, the
Yeah.
dedication,
Or-
the willingness to push yourself
Yeah.
that will determine how far you go.
So we've covered quite a bit of ground here. We talked about tenacity, trusting your gut,
Yeah.
the importance of loving what you do,
Uh-huh.
being cautious and planning for the downside, and of course, the role of hard work.
Right.
Is there anything else that stands out to you from Trump's speech?
There's one more thing I want to touch on, and it's something that we've kind of alluded to already.
Okay.
Handling pressure.
Okay.
Trump has a rather unique perspective on this.
Okay.
He says, and I quote, "It doesn't matter."
That's an interesting way to put it.
It is.
What exactly does he mean by that? Is he saying that pressure simply doesn't exist, or that we should just ignore it?
Well, I don't think he's advocating for a complete disregard of pressure.
Okay.
What he seems to be suggesting is that we shouldn't let pressure, dictate our actions or control our emotions.
Yeah.
And he emphasizes faith and family as his true priorities, implying that everything else, kind of pales in comparison.
So it's about maintaining that perspective.
Yeah.
About focusing on what truly matters.
Exactly.
In the grand scheme of things.
And while this approach might sound oversimplified, there's a certain wisdom to it. When you're faced with a high pressure situation, it's easy to get caught up in the moment.
Right.
To let anxiety and fear take over.
Yeah.
But if you can step back and remind yourself of your core values, of what truly matters.
Yeah.
It can help you, stay grounded and make more rational decisions.
It's like that saying, don't sweat the small stuff.
Right.
Or in Trump's case, maybe it's more like, don't sweat any of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where his personality comes into play.
Yeah.
He seems to genuinely thrive.
Yeah.
On pressure, almost like it fuels him.
Right.
But I also think it's important for the average listener to consider whether this approach is really sustainable for everyone.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
What works for Donald Trump
Right.
might not work for someone else.
It all comes down to knowing yourself,
right.
your own strengths and weaknesses,
Yeah.
and developing those coping mechanisms that are effective for you.
Absolutely. And it's worth noting that there's a fine line between handling pressure effectively and simply denying its existence.
Right.
It's one thing to maintain perspective and not let stress control you, but it's another to completely shut down your emotions or avoid dealing with difficult situations altogether.
Exactly.
So it's about finding that balance between acknowledging the pressure, but not letting it overwhelm you or dictate your action.
Exactly. And I think that's a valuable takeaway for anyone, regardless of whether you agree with Trump's specific methods or not. It's about developing that inner resilience, that ability to stay calm and focused, even when things get tough.
Okay, so we've really, I think, dug into Trump's advice here, right? From never giving up to trusting your gut. From loving what you do to planning for those inevitable bumps in the road.
It's been a fascinating exploration, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has.
His mindset.
Yeah, and I think there are some valuable nuggets in there. Even if his style isn't for everyone.
Right.
It's like sifting for gold,
Yeah.
You take what works for you, leave the rest, and hopefully you come away a little bit richer in wisdom.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And it really highlights the importance of critical thinking, right?
Right.
We shouldn't just accept any advice blindly, even from someone, as successful as Donald Trump.
Right.
We need to analyze it, consider those potential benefits and drawbacks,
right,
and ultimately decide how it fits into our own personal philosophies and goals.
So it's not about mimicking Trump's every move,
exactly,
or adopting his exact approach.
It's more about understanding those underlying principles behind his success, and seeing if we can apply those in our own lives, in our own way.
Exactly, and I think that's where the true value of this deep dive lies. It's not about becoming a mini Donald Trump. It's about learning from his experiences, both his successes and his failures,
and extracting those insights that can help us navigate our own paths to success.
And one of the biggest takeaways for me is this idea of balancing optimism with pragmatism. You need that belief in yourself, that vision of what you want to achieve, but you also need to be realistic about the challenges that you'll face and have plans in place to address them.
I completely agree. It's like you need both. The gas pedal and the brakes to drive effectively.
Right.
Too much optimism without any grounding in reality can lead to recklessness. While too much caution can stifle that creativity and prevent you from taking necessary risks.
It's finding that sweet spot, right? That balance between dreaming big and taking those concrete steps to make those dreams a reality.
Well said.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great note to end on.
Okay.
Whether you admire Donald Trump or not, there's no denying that he's achieved a certain level of success.
Right.
And analyzing his philosophy can offer valuable insights for anyone who's striving to reach their full potential.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, what's the one thing that our listeners should really take away from all this?
Yeah, that's a great question.
What's that nugget of wisdom they can apply to their own lives right now?
For me, it comes back to that idea of balanced action.
Okay.
Believing yourself, set those ambitious goals, work hard, but also be strategic, plan for the unexpected, and don't be afraid to adapt and adjust as you go.
Yeah.
Success is rarely a straight line.
Yeah.
And it often requires a blend of tenacity, intuition, and careful consideration.
That's great advice, and I think it perfectly encapsulates the essence of what we've been discussing.
Yeah, for sure.
Remember, take what resonates with you from Trump's approach.
Right.
Leave what doesn't.
Right.
And never stop learning. Right. Even from the most unexpected sources.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe you'll even write your own book on the art of the deal someday.
That's right. Until then, keep exploring. Keep learning and keep striving for that unique version of success that truly fulfills you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Until next time.